what our house in Shorewood is, you can get a lot more housing. I mean, maybe not new construction, but you can get some pretty darn nice houses in Mequon. Bigger and a lot more yard. Of course, you don't have sidewalks and other things, but.
They don't have the big county,
Yes.
big city
Yes.
problems. They're
But,
challenges.
I mean, to me, I think, you know, the amount of rental housing and particularly duplexes that we have, I mean, I think we sort of need to look at what our supply is. And then that's kind of what the duplex program has been about, like, here's our supply, we have these duplexes, we want to sort of nudge them this way. But, you know, what I think our supply can kind of, you know, it's our opportunity and our challenge, you know, because we have a very different mix of housing supply than other suburbs do. And it's, you know, it's do we want to use that as an entryway in terms of trying to make more affordable opportunities, or do we want to, are we kind of trying to do what Mequon's doing of saying, no, you need to have, you know, if you want to buy into Shorewood, you need to have this chunk of change to get in. So I don't know, you know, do you want to help assess value, or do you want to help diversity in school enrollment? So, I mean, those are the kind of like things we need to wrestle with. And they're also, I think they're also important to, once we have the housing study, to be out in the community and trying to have some of these discussions with the community.
The duplex market crashed
Yeah.
in 2008, when loans weren't being given out. You had to have 25% down even for an owner-occupied duplex, or do an FHA loan at 3.5. And people didn't know FHA existed, so they were looking for single families. And duplexes are still, for owner-occupied, looking at, for the most part, 20% down. And that's Fannie Mae, Freddie Mac, that sets those guidelines for lenders to use.
Yeah.
Not communities. So until those change, I think duplexes are still gonna be difficult to purchase, unless your clients, a lot of homeowners don't wanna sell with an FHA loan, because there's criteria that have to be met. The house has to be in a certain condition. So they're more difficult to finance, but not impossible. But if you have 5% down to buy a duplex, quite often you can't get a loan. 10% down, 15% down, you've gotta have that 20. So that's been the challenge with two families, isn't necessarily local, it's on a national underwriting scale. And that's made it real opportunistic for investors, because it's driven those prices down. So anyone that wanted to sell had to sell to somebody who had cash.
So now we have a lot of investor owned instead of owner owned, and owner occupied, yeah.
And that's why I was getting at earlier with the down payment assistance
Yeah.
program could come
Yeah.
for owner occupants only of
Right.
duplexes rather than convert them.
Yeah, how many of these, there's abuses there too.
Yeah, sure.
They live in it for a year, or say they lived in it for a year, and then they rent out the whole thing. But-
All right, so this was, I think, a good exercise. Thank you for putting, again, if you didn't have a chance to go through the documents, I would recommend it. They're quite comprehensive, and, you know, a lot of it doesn't necessarily relate to the CDA, so you can sort of go through and see. But it's a lot of good historical information, and to know where Shorewood was, I think, at a point in time then, and kind of see where we are now. So, but it's good, you know, it's good to hear this is dovetailing into our next process, which is great. So I think that'll help us moving forward. Any other questions or comments? Any other plans? Okay. Thank you. Now, item 7, the monthly reports. Laura, if you want to start.
Yeah, I'd be happy to take any questions. I hesitate to go through this all the time because I'm going to be talking for a half hour, but so if there's any questions on particular aspects, the one primary, there's a lot of primary things, but the transportation and parking analysis is proceeding. So we had another town hall. John, as your representative, has participated in most opportunities that he's been able to. So we're still at the point where they're gathering information. A lot of community feedback is being brought in, and we're expecting some recommendations to be coming out shortly, within the next month or so. So I think at that point we'll have more discussion to share on what they're recommending. Right now it's a lot of who's telling us what, and so the first town hall summary is included. Like I said, we had a second one after that, specific to parking, so that one I haven't received yet, but it is moving along. Our next town hall is scheduled, for the end of the month here in August, specific to transportation, the last Thursday, if that's the 20th or 30th, I forget, I think it's the 30th.
Is that a 1 and 6?
It's just the 6. So that is progressing. The housing study proposals are due today. I've received 2 already. We received 4 people had said they were interested in getting and submitted comments, and we received 2 full proposals so far. The deadline is today, so I'm hoping to get a good handful of those. We'll start reviewing those shortly with the goal, I think, of selecting the consultant at the September meeting. So
Pardon my ignorance on this,
Sure.
but in terms of 1A, for application for commercial occupancy, for Sage Specialty Pharmacy, I know what you said, what's the process for that? I know there've been some signage, that's gone to the village board, so what's the next step there? 'Cause
yeah, so it's a permitted use, so their occupancy was just administratively approved,
Okay.
but they did have signage and they had a special privilege for an awning on the outside, so those required additional approvals. I believe they're looking at a facade grant for some storefront, so that it requires board approvals. So the next step actually is just they're submitting permits for interior build out, and they're hoping to, I believe, get in there this fall yet, so
Okay,
it's a lot of administrative
Is this an
approvals.
existing pharmacy with other branches?
They have at least one downtown currently on like Plankinton and Second or so on the river.
What
Trustee
is-
Maher was familiar with it
What
when he
is
came
a
in.
specialty pharmacy?
I was just about to jump ahead in that discussion to say a lot of, people are getting in position of CBD shops
Yeah.
and stuff to get ahead of medical marijuana. And that sounds close enough, Sage Specialty Pharmacy.
Yeah,
To
they
be
have-
positioning for that, it's something to be considered when you're looking at them to know if, I don't know how many feet they are from the schools, that sounds awfully close.
I think they're
Or
right
if
across the
they're-
street,
right.
they're in this building, which is across the intersection.
There you go.
That might be,
We don't have
it's,
a-
but
that's-
remember,
would
we
be- go
had
ahead,
we
Dr.
had the selling beer at the BP station, and it was more than 300 feet away from the entrance to the school.
Yeah, 'cause
It's, yeah.
That would be
There you
governed
go.
by, I'm just
Yeah.
throwing that out there because I know everyone and their
Is that what
brothers
they're
is
about?
hot to trot on that.
No, I mean,
train.
they're,
Bad
Trustee
mix.
Maher has the same question, so I can share their business, proposal with everyone.
I don't need to see, I'm
Yeah.
just putting that out into the air so everyone knows that that's what's happening. People are
Yeah.
positioning themselves in warehouses for grow facilities, for dispensaries and places just like this. And whether Shorewood's gonna be a part of that or not, you know.
It's a very small floor plan, of that particular
It fits.
space, right, so,
That's again consistent.
Yeah.
well, I mean, it is built out, I can share their application if people wanna see it.
Well, we don't know.
Trustee Maher
I
asked for
don't,
it as well,
no, I'm
so,
just saying,
yeah.
just so you know, that's what's happening. We're approached all the time at our
No,
buildings
that's
for
good.
people who wanna
That's good to
grow.
know.
But they're all positioning now, so when it goes, that they're
But
in
what
position.
did they mean by specialty pharmacy? I mean, like, why would you take your script there
CBD
instead
now
of going
and
to?
marijuana later.
sort of
I
going
think
out,
the main
you
thing
know,
that they've shared with me is, mail order and or, packaging all your, drugs into one, thing, so it's more like it's more helpful to the consumers what they're suggesting, and they have specific, I could share their application with you, I have not memorized.
The architect actually said to me that they specialize in chemotherapy drugs and mental health, and the mental health aspect, there's almost programming with it,
Oh, well, that's.
So, but
They-
again,
I
it's
know
not
there's
written.
More natural products.
I know
Just what it
autoimmune
said.
diseases were in there, multiple sclerosis
Yeah.
was in there, they had specific things that they specialized in per se, and then
Yeah.
their thing was that they would be able to provide you guidance or whatever on your specific illness and all the drugs that you're
And
taking.
resource, so it's a
Yeah.
resource base, yeah,
Yeah.
it's not like they're gonna have psychotherapists there
Right.
and see people.
And like I said, there is one existing, on like Plankinton and Second downtown on the river, so
Do you know what the name of that is? I'm just trying
I
to,
believe it's Sage.
oh,
And they have a more natural, like, so as opposed to just drugs that are, prescribed by your doctor, there's also a strong natural component to it. So, at least from what I read about it. So there's,
If it's
certain
medication
Western medicine-
management, that's a niche that needs to be filled, that's a great, especially if
Yeah.
we're talking about having an elderly population.
Well, think about the increase in
Cross-medication
just cancer alone. I mean,
issues.
we have, and people from the market studies will say that we're low on like the need for medical and providing, doctors within this area. So we've seen that uptick, essentially moving over to Oakland, and now this is kind of another complement to that. But aside from the use,
Yeah.
Isn't it great to have something in that space?
Yeah.
Are they taking the whole building?
No, just the corner of the tent,
Just
the
the-
former.
oh,
Just to have something in the corner. How many years has it been?
15.
12.
Yeah.
Smokes, really?
So,
I heard more about that building while knocking on doors than.
right?
Really?
Yeah, I heard a lot about that building.
So that'll be.
Well, you'll be glad to explain to people now. Well, it's sort of, going to be a no one's sure.
Well, the tacos.
They're gonna have an awning.
Just really
It's
excited
really
about the
awesome awning.
tacos. If only we could take credit for that.
Yeah.
We brought tacos to Shorewood.
Yeah, tacos and toy this building.
That's the
That's
market,
the-
that's the
that's the
market doing
point
the
you
market
want.
wants.
That's what we want.
I'm pretty sure you
Yeah.
can take credit for that. That was that Sweat Facade grant.
Our next
About
campaign
that.
will be like a
Exactly.
Yeah.
David and
Hot taco in every pot.
Vote him into get more tacos. You'd win hands down.
Put in all your marketing stuff, just subliminally tacos.
You know, this is off point, but to the comment on what you're seeing coming down the road, I mean, is there, that's nothing for us to do, but for other design review board and others to factor in this question of what these dispensaries might, how they fit into, I'm not saying that they'll be bad, but is that something that we wanna have in our community? And it's a great point of, you're not even thinking of, some people are not even thinking about it right now on the approval side, but on the business side,
Yeah.
they're mapping this
positioned
out to be
already.
in place whenever it is, 5 years from now or whatever, and so should some of our committees make sure they're, I don't know, can they
I'll-
do anything to control that?
I'll bring
or just be
everybody up
aware?
a little bit from what I know, because one of my business partners worked in this area in other states and stuff, and everyone, like, people are positioning themselves, but they're really little bit players, and there's hedge fund money that comes
Yes,
behind the big
yeah.
ones, and it's all national, everything, so it'll be big money, and it won't be like mom and pop shops.
Right.
It'll be
It
coming
was
in.
lottery based in Washington, it was lottery based in Colorado.
Yeah, a lot of it will depend on how they, but there's so much lobbying now by that big money to keep it from going to lottery.
Because they had to pay, they paid people to apply.
Yeah, oh my god, yeah.
They
Well, they'll
paid
pressure
people-
the state
They
legislature
paid
to
people
get
to
it
apply
the
for
way
the
they want
lottery,
it.
and then if they got the lottery, they literally won the lottery because they licensed with,
Yeah.
so. It
It's
was-
just an interesting question, though.
It was a
Do we
political
have any
thing.
control, any,
Yeah, I think it'd be a plan
Influence.
commission zoning question, in terms of what they can and can't zone.
Yeah.
On those things. I know those other states have dealt with it. We haven't gotten there quite yet, but there's definitely precedent in those states to.
I think it's a great point, just thinking of trying to be as ahead of the
Ahead of the
curve a
curve,
little
yeah.
bit, if we can. And
But
again, it's not
to your
us, I don't
point,
think
it's
it's.
being done.
It's being
Here.
done, yeah. All those CBD shops you see opening up,
Yes,
like on
all
Oakland and
of
stuff,
those.
they're all, and I've talked to the owners of them, cause my barber happens to be next door, and they said as soon as it goes legal, we're buying the rest of this building and blowing that wall out, and we're going live. So that's their positioning, I'm guessing Wisco Vapes or whatever it is up by Aliotos is in the same boat, like those businesses can't make that much money right now, they're
I
just
think
holding.
that's being sold, the whole,
Over.
the
Is it?
the whole, that's all, the city of Milwaukee.
Yeah, I know, I'm just saying, but
That's
all
all-
these little
that's
vape
already
shops that are
under
popping
contract.
up are backed by other people and are, or they think that they're gonna
Yeah.
get us like that.
Yeah, enough drug
things
discussion.
gone, but- Yeah.
Yeah, oh, sorry.
And this is just a matter of housekeeping, but I just wanted to remind people that our next meeting's gonna be on Friday, September 6th, and, with something I wanted to check in on, do you still, we've been continuing to rotate the start time from 7:30 to 8:30, so I didn't know
School
if
will
that.
be in session by the next one, so that will impact people.
Okay, so I didn't know, I'm checking in, do you still want me to continue rotation? If so, the next meeting would start at 8:30 AM, September 6th.
I mean, I'm good with the rotation. I feel like I'm the guy that pushed 7:30. If I'm the only one that wants 7:30, I'm willing to back off my.
I like the rotation.
Okay.
Well, yeah, I think it was last year we had a discussion about, is this, is morning the right time and all that, cause I think we wanted to be cognizant of people that have kids
People
going
with
to
jobs.
school, and that's.
Yeah.
So we did talk about moving it to the evening, and the committee decided to keep it in the morning, but do the 7:30, 8:30.
Usually
We
work.
probably should have that same discussion of whether it's still, I wanna make sure it works for you.
Public access,
It's not great,
Yeah,
right,
it should be in the evening, every other committee meets
in the evening, yeah.
Public can't.
So I think we obviously let's keep the 6th as we've been
Okay,
doing.
and then I guess my question was
Was
more
eight.
so not on when we're doing the meeting, but just the time, the 7:30 or 8:30. And so, just so you know, I will have the next one at 8:30. Everyone likes
Which
a
is
friendly
better.
reminder, right? I've
Yes.
shown up places an
Yes.
hour early.
I was on the way here going, I hope it's.
Yeah, I hope it's at 7 there, right?
I'm gonna be really mad. It was the 8:30 day.
I had a question about Casa de Corazon, because they were gonna open in the spring, and now they're saying the fall, and what's been going on with them?
Just general construction delays. I think they had some We Energies relocation in the back where their playground was that they weren't not expecting to have to take on. So that is still, if you've driven past it, that's still not completed yet. So it's just, I thought the spring was quite ambitious anyways, but it's largely done minus, you know, the outside play structure. They were at design board last night for their sign. They have to come back for that because it's a slight revision on that. But I think we're expecting them shortly to wrap that up, but I think We Energies in the back was the largest delay on that.
Okay. Any other questions? Question I always have, you know, volume of activity, tone of the market, what's your, kind of the same as it's been, or?
I actually thought it was quite busy for considering it was the summer.
Summer.
So,
That's good.
yeah, the Gather, which received a liquor license, over here for the former McMinnis Dance Space, they're gonna be coming in shortly. I don't know if they discussed anything with you or not. I've yet to meet them, so they're working on that. I expect, Toro Taco, you know, to be pursuing permits and things shortly, so I think it's been pretty busy, quite honestly.
Good.
You
Updates.
forgot to mention the Irish.
Oh, and we received an occupancy application, yesterday for, and it was a dance studio in the past, I don't know what it was, cause they said they implied
They
that.
rented space.